Good evening, and welcome along to the Christmas Roundup. Tonight we're talking about throwing that perfect Christmas party and Christmas party etiquette as well. So let's talk to a celebrity party planner now. Liz Taylor joins us. Liz, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you, this morning. I'm very good, thank you. And yourself?
Very well, thank you. So I'm in the mood for Christmas now. It's starting to feel festive.
Oh, I'm not.
No, why?
Oh, I don't know. I struggle with Christmas because it's busy from a commercial perspective. We have sort of lots of Christmas parties and I think the do's and the don'ts. And I think what's interesting at the moment, which I'd love, is the fact that it's no longer a seated three-course meal that you have to sit next to somebody that you actually don't really like and you've not seen them all year, whether it's corporate, whether it's private. If it's corporate and you go to a works do and you sat with your boss or your team leader and that's all gone. It's all very much street food and picky bits, which I think is really, really cool, and I'm into all that.
So am I, but I do have my reservations too. You go to a lot of big events, it's always very crowded. You've got your glass of champagne in one hand, you've got the picky bits out there as well, and sometimes it can get very hard to balance everything. And then somebody brings out the chicken wings, which are usually covered in sauce, and that can get very messy, can't it?
Well, you've obviously not ever been to a TLC event because ours don't get messy, no. But yes, it can. So listen, what's really interesting, the Co-op have done this research. And when you look at the research and the figures, you've got sort of 23% of people that double dip food. So you take your sausage roll, you dip it in your sauce, you bite it, and then you take it put it in the other sauce. And you've got 39% of people that, queue jump, or they pile food on their plate. And I think what I've gained from that is I've taken actually all these percentages and thought, well, how can we make that work and make much more of an immersive experience? I think the key thing to it is not to have a buffet table. So whether you are in a corporate environment or a private environment, have stations everywhere, small stations, so you can put your pig in blankets there, and you can you're just doubling up. You go on, if we're talking about a private event, because I think a lot of us like to be at home at Christmas, like to entertain friends and family, and go online, get some really funky coloured metal plates, gold, green, red, or whatever, and go down to the Co-op. They do the most amazing selection of picky bits, and also there's no wastage because you can freeze them afterwards. And put the food on the plate. So it's already brought to life. Get some mini cocktail napkins, so those ignoramuses that might be there know to pick up a napkin with their picky bit. Do not use big plates. Only use small plates, because this grazing experience can last for 2 or 3 hours, and you don't feel an idiot going back with a small plate. You've got this big plate and you've got your beer, and so you've got a small plate, and on it you've got either a small bottle of beer or you've got a milk bottle with a mulled wine in, just a little one, because everything that we're serving you, you can go back and get more of. And as I'm stood chatting to you, there's some vol au vent there or some mini sausage rolls there, and I can pick one with a stick, not with my fingers, which is in a bowl at the side. It's all the detail. It's the little pieces of the jigsaw that you put out, so everything is accessible. And whether it be an afternoon tea and you do mince pies and sandwiches, and it's a completely different perspective of what of a buffet. And I just hate the word buffet. You've got images of standing on a Miami cruise ship over Christmas, queuing, waiting to move along to get your chicken wing. Well, yeah. And don't serve chicken wings, because how do you eat them? You can't eat them.
I can't, but people are still doing it.
Not a lot of people are. Not a lot of people are eating chicken. They are eating vol au vent, and they're eating tiny Yorkshire puddings with a little bit of roast beef in, and they're eating smoked salmon cones. I mean, the options that are available now are endless, and there is no excuse for anyone to be short of choice and short of time. And I also think the Co-op are very price driven, and they don't compromise on the quality, and we are all up against it. You put your heating on, it's costing you another 100 quid. You fill your car, it's costing you another 100 quid. Everyone's in the same boat. I think it's really important that you balance that, and I don't want to be stood in the kitchen when I've got all my friends out there having a good time. I want to make life easy. So those, I hope, are my solutions to your chicken wing, big plate, can't balance a bottle dilemma.
Now, I do love a good cheese board.
Right, wait, don't get me started on the cheese board.
What's wrong with a cheese board?
Let me tell you, if you do a cheese board, do a few. And again, position them around the room and do small pieces. Or if it's more cost effective, buy the big pieces and chop them up. Because people like you go up to the cheese board and they get the cheese knife and they hack into it. And all of a sudden, it's all over the place. And it's gone all over the grapes and it's gone all over the celery. And it's a mess. And I adore cheese. Yeah, so again, do little pieces. And that way, there's a fork there. You can put 2 or 3 pieces, 4 or 5 pieces on your plate, and you can go back. But again, visually, the person that's coming up to the cheese board next is not looking at a car crash of crumbs that's all over the tables. So you're eating with your eyes.
Well, I was at an event recently where they had one of these old wooden candy carts to display the cheese board on, and it looked really, really lovely.
Gorgeous. And it's like, that's the Christmas markets, isn't it? I was there in Manchester the other day. It's all about presentation, and it's all about, thinking it through, and also thinking out of the box. I like crazy stuff. When I did Narnia for somebody, I built a wardrobe, and that was in the marquee. You walked through the wardrobe, you walked through the mink coats, and you walked into Narnia. So the crazier, the better. So if you said, maybe we have some mini mince pies, we've got some macarons, or strawberries dipped in chocolate, you can get some really cool, very inexpensive, big gold jewelry boxes, sort of Moroccan-y type. Yeah. Buy one, just fill it up with paper so you've got a top layer, and just layer those strawberries with the chocolate on the top and leave the top open, and it's a piece. You're looking at something, and it's just a completely different way of being entertained.
Yeah. And I was doing the Northern Ireland Be Beautiful Awards at the weekend, and they had something a little bit different on the way into the ceremony. For their drinks reception, they actually had a champagne wall, where people had to go up to the wall, they had to ring a bell, and the next thing, this hand appeared through a hole in the wall and handed you a glass of champagne.
Fabulous. I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that. We're doing one actually in January. It's the 21st, and it's take a shot and take a seat. So we'll be accused on Channel 7 of being Alcoholics Anonymous here, won't we? Because it's all, and it doesn't have to be. It can be non-alcoholic, but it's still take a shot and take a seat. So you go up, you give your name, and your table for seats is on a bottle. There are so many innovative ideas that you can do, and people want to be entertained with the delivery of the food and the drink. And, no one goes home saying, do you know, I had a great piece of chicken last night. You go home and you say, they had a champagne wall and a hand came through, or the music was brilliant. The play, it's music, it's food. And I love this whole picky bit concept, because and you eat more, in fairness, with a picky bit. You do eat more, but I much prefer that than to sitting down and having a whole 3-4 course meal that you can't get up from the table at the end. It becomes a party. So get yourself down to the Co-op and get your picky bits.
I'm on my way there now. So Liz, tell me this, what's the most extravagant party that you've ever organised?
When you say extravagant, do you mean the most they've spent, or the visually extravagant?
Well, first of all, what's the most they've spent?
The biggest private budget was 1.75 million.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was his second marriage. And when we parted company at the weekend, and he thanked me profusely for the most amazing weekend. And it's all relative, because I think, people are very critical of what people spend on events, but it is relative. The guy had worked all his life, built up a phenomenal business, was self-made and hugely successful. So good luck to him. But as we left, and he said, it was just amazing. Thank you so much. And I said, it's my pleasure, and I can't wait for your third.
How about the craziest thing that anybody has ever asked for?
Well, they're all crazy, because that's what we do. We're creative and we're crazy. One of my favourite was a family who I work for, who've got 4 daughters, and I've done 16th, 18th. I'm just in the middle of doing weddings. There's a wedding next year. Wanted a circus theme. And so I didn't want to do the yellow and blue balloons and the thing and everything. So the table, it was a seated party, and the table plan were rubber ducks. So you picked up your rubber duck with your name on and you went into the marquee, and the pièce de résistance was this custom built, huge Victorian carousel. And the detail was insane. And so you went up to the bar and you stood, and slowly you went round. And of course, you had bar staff all in the middle. And we did popcorn cartons with a popcorn cocktail with the popcorn on top. And one of the other drinks was a plastic bag with a zipper like you win at the fair, with a little gold, not a plastic goldfish in, which had gin and tonic in it. And so this was how we displayed the drinks. But of course, they were going round the carousel and the DJ was up in the middle. And it took an awful lot of time and design, and I had amazing set builders. And of course, it had to be built into the marquee base. I loved that. And I loved the Narnia one. You know, I love the opportunity of being creative. I did Down the Yellow Brick Road, and Diana Ross performed that night for the client. And the drinks reception was Wicked, from the show Wicked. We recreated it, and then the wall dropped and we had this huge yellow brick road, which we took them down into Oz. And so it all sounds, you know, pretentious and lavish, but with my hat on, it's, you know, it's what I do. I just like taking people into an environment and into a world that they would never ever have, you know, experienced. And I love it. So yeah.
Now, you've done parties for the royals as well, so what kind of things did they ask for in their buffet?
Well, they don't have a buffet, do they? It's a little bit more like Betty Davis in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, where you've got the silver thing and they pick it up. You know, I don't know if you ever saw that film. But the story of the famous story with that was on a Monday morning when I got a phone call, and this American woman said, "Yule is Taylor, and I've been given your number. We've got an event in 3 weeks' time. We're in a real mess. Can you be at Kensington Palace tomorrow?" Well, first of all, I thought it was a wind up, and second of all, I thought, who's going to do my hair for me before I go? And then we're talking, and I said, you know, what is the event? And she said, it's the Winter White Gala for Centrepoint. I said, who's the client? She said, it's the Prince of Wales. And I'm sliding off the chair here. I thought, this cannot be real. And then I thought, oh yeah, okay, I'll go. And then I thought, entertainment, you know, I'm very into entertainment. I manage some amazing acts, international acts. So I said, who is the entertainment about to sell her a band? She said, well, we've got Taylor Swift and John Bon Jovi. Well, needless to say, I was down there the following morning on the 10 o'clock train. And I've had lots of opportunities like that, but they've not come easy. You know, I've worked very, very hard, and I have networked, and I've made sure that my brand has been consistent. And it, you know, some people you can work with and some people you can't, but you're not going to come to me with a budget, whether the budget is £500 or £500,000, and not let me do it. There's no point. So if you said to me, I'm having a party, I'm prepared to put £500 into this, what should I do? I would either do one crazy thing, one massive thing that, you know, was multifunctional, or I'd say, you know what, I've got a magician, let him do something that's tangible. You know, don't just fritter it on. It's well thought through, this event business.
And have you ever done any parties here in Belfast?
I haven't done in Belfast, I've done in Ireland, but one of my great friends, as a result of being a client, is Eamon Holmes. And so he was a Mad United fan, and I worked for United for 17 years. So any cup final party or Champions League party, they had whether they won or lost. So consequently, I end up on the Manchester United Foundation, and I was invited to a lunch. And the gentleman who had invited me said, I'm going to sit you next to Eamon Holmes. For God's sake, just, you know, be polite. I mean, like I wouldn't be. And he sat down and we were chatting, and he's amazing. And Eamon and Ruth are great friends, and I did their wedding. And he said to me, and what do you do for a living? So I said, I have an event company. So he said, oh, do you? He said, I'm going to be 50 in November. I said, well, you won't be leaving this table without booking me to do the party. And he didn't, and that was it. And that was, I don't know how, a good few years ago. And then I did Ruth and Eamon's wedding. And so that's my big connection to Belfast. I love Ireland. I love Dublin.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's been lovely to meet you. I've really enjoyed this.
Have you? Don't sound so surprised.
Yeah.
No, I really have. I really don't say this just to anybody.
It's been lovely talking to you at any time. I'm available.
Liz, thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.